Alright, anyways, here we go. And we're gonna start off with D tier because I feel like nothing's an F tier because I feel like for at least season 0, every character in this game is good at doing something. And for that reason, we're gonna say D tier is where we start off. And first up in D tier, I have possibly the worst character in the game, Black Widow. And yeah, you might think Black Widow is the best character in the game because of other reasons, especially that one white suit skin. Yeah, from the Black Widow movie. Yeah. But anyways, let's be serious here. She's the worst character in the game because she's 4-star difficulty. She's pretty hard to play. Her abilities are pretty mid. Her only good abilities are sniper. Her sniper doesn't want a headshot. Her sniper feels like a bad version of Hawkeye's bow, and a really bad one at that. And for DPS, there's just so many better options, especially for range DPS. And for that reason, she's D tier. And then next up in D tier, we have um, none other than Winter Soldier. I know a lot of people like Winter Soldier, aka Bucky, but he's pretty like he's kind of has a high skill ceiling, but like especially if you can like master his ultimate and his pistol's pretty solid and his abilities are pretty solid too. But if you can't, but like, the most Bucky players I see, the average Bucky player really sucks, and overall, it's just like there's better DPS to play, and I feel like he's a bad version of the Punisher. So for that reason, he's D tier. Okay. And then next up in D tier, we have Squirrel Girl. And Squirrel Girl, I know she's really easy to play. This might be a controversial take, but as a ranged DPS with a pretty mid ultimate and pretty like just okay abilities, she might have the ability to stun. She might have the ability to do some other cool stuff. But as the type of DPS she is, with being a little more range, I feel like you might as well go healer. And for that reason, Squirrel Girl is D tier because there's better options at DPS. And then, hold on. And then, oh yeah, the next step in D tier. This character is kind of like Mirage from Apex Legends, if you ever played that game. Loki. And Loki, the reason he's D tier is he's really high difficulty. And yeah, I've seen some really good Loki players in ranked lobbies where he can put out a bunch of clones. All the clones are healing. And then he does a bunch of clones together. And then he does a Doctor Strange ult, which is really good. But here's the thing. Loki can be really good if you can master him. If you can like get really good at cloning and healing, and then do really good timed ults, you can win. You can win a bunch of games. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Loki, right? Loki sucks. Play on words, because most of the time, your decoys you have to like in order for them in order like yeah they can be good, but here's the thing if you're on one where you're pushing the payload, then you have to constantly be moving your decoys, and that exposes you. Or if you're having the decoys on the point, they can easily damage it, or you pretend to be a decoy yourself and they don't care, but then all you're doing is mid healing while not doing any damage. And for that reason, Loki's a D tier character. And it's like, oh, but he can do any ultimate in the game. Well, why not just play Doctor Strange if you want to do Doctor Strange ultimate? So for that reason, Loki's D tier. Okay. Yes, you can do other ultimates than just Doctor Strange, but that's just my example. And the next up in D tier, we have Majik. And Majik is pretty like she's a little. I would say she's kind of like a little harder to learn just because she's kind of a bad character. Because yeah, if you get really good with her portals, if you get like her teleporting and her movement and her sword, you can do really good and be a really good tank buster. Or you can get in the back line, clap healers. But I feel like for DPS, I feel like for DPS like VDPS, like I feel like DPS versus DPS, she's just not gonna win the fight that many times. And for that reason, I think Majik and her ultimate's pretty weak. And for that reason, rhyme there. You know, it's true. Majik's D tier. Okay. Oh, this is fun. Who else we got? Okay, I think that's all of them for D tier. All right, next up we have C tier. And in C tier, we have the characters that, like I said, are mid. And here we go. Oh, this is tough. Okay, first up in C tier, we have Star-Lord. I know a lot of people like Star-Lord because he has good movement, good damage, nice burst. But in my opinion, his ultimate is a little like it's a little weak. It's a little underwhelming, and I feel like there's better DPS to play in the game. And for that reason, he's C tier. He's just mid. A lot like his ultimate. And then we have next up in C tier. Next up in C tier, we have Namor, or as I like to call him, Aquaman, because his movement's pretty solid, his damage is pretty weak. I would have put him in D tier because I feel like he's just has because I feel like the only thing good about him is, but I feel like his octopuses are pretty good range and his ultimate's really strong. But I feel like the skill ceiling is so high, just like I said with Loki, that I feel like Aquaman is kind of more like, or Namor is kind of more like a C tier character, but his ult's pretty good. I feel like for that reason, I feel like his base kit is just too low to have him at B tier, so for that reason, he's going to be mid at C tier. We're going to be some tough choices here because a lot of characters in this game are really good. All right, next up, hold on. Then, next up in C tier, we have Wolverine. I feel like Wolverine's kind of a high skill ceiling character, and the thing is, his damage is pretty low. He's pretty solid against messing up healers, but him going up against healers, he feels like a bad version of Iron Fist. But I feel like he feels like a bad version of Iron Fist, which is like, why would you put him C tier? And his ult's pretty weak. But the reason I put him C tier is not only he has a really cool Deadpool Wolverine skin, but that's not the reason. The reason is he is possibly the best tank buster in this game, and that's why even though he's one of the worst DPS in the game, I'm putting him in C tier. And he's one of the best tank busters. I wouldn't say he's the best, but he's one of them. I can't tell you how many times on Groot and the enemy Wolverine tackles me, knocks my Jeff off, and then just starts beating me with freaking like claw combos and then kills me. Or ults on me. And for that reason, Wolverine's C tier. And then, I forgot something. I forgot one more in D tier. Spider-Man's D tier. Spider-Man is easily D tier because yeah, his movement's pretty good. Yeah, I've seen some cool clips where he web swings somebody off the map, and I've seen like some cool things with his wall climbing and his movement, and his ult's pretty solid. But his ult's he's the hardest character to use in the game easily, full 5-star, and for that reason, and he's just not, and his base damage is pretty weak, and his ultimate's pretty like underwhelming. He's a D tier character. Okay. Okay, my apologies. Hold on, let me make sure everybody's good. I'm gonna say next up we have none other than Rocket Raccoon. He's very easy to learn. He has decent damage, decent movement, but I feel like his revivability is pretty solid, and his healing's pretty solid. But I feel like as a healer, he's pretty underwhelming, and his ult's pretty weak. And for that reason, I feel like his like ability to revive and stuff, I feel like it just makes him a bad version of Adam Warlock, which we'll get to later. And for that reason, he's C tier. And then, okay, is anybody else in C tier? Or I'm also making sure I didn't miss anybody for D tier or C tier. I'm gonna say next up in B. I'm gonna say next up. Actually, no, not B tier. I'm gonna say next up in C tier is the final. I'm gonna say the next up in C tier. Yeah, this is going in. I don't know. Do I want to put her in C tier or D or B tier? I don't know. I'm gonna say the next up in C tier is Penny Parker, because yeah, her stuns can be annoying, especially if and it can be really useful if you're going up against a Groot and Jeff combo. But her mines are pretty underwhelming. Her ult's pretty weak, and I feel like for that, and her base damage is not that great. She's only 650 HP. She kind of plays like an off tank, and I feel like if you're playing off tank with the amount of really strong DPS in this game, there's other better options at tank, and for that reason, she's gonna go in C tier. Next up in C tier, we have none other than Hulk. And I feel like Hulk, his skill ceiling's really high, and I've been I can tell you, I can't even express the amount of times my games have been absolutely wrecked by an opposing Hulk going like 30-2 in a ranked match. But here's the thing: his difficulty's really high, and I feel like if you get good with his clap and stuns, he's pretty good, and his shield's pretty solid, and his big health is nice. And if you can master his switch between Hulk and Bruce Banner, he could be really good. I feel like for the average Hulk player base, if you don't have a healer rolling with you, and like he feels like a bad version of Venom, which is why I feel like because he feels like a bad version of Venom, I have to put him C tier. And then because I feel like Bruce Banner's just too weak as like a better as like another option, so I feel like he's not even doesn't really move the needle for me. So I feel like C tier. Okay, is anybody else C tier or D tier before we move on? I'm gonna say for the same reason we put Hulk in C tier, I'm gonna say Storm's in C tier. And Storm's in C tier because her damage is pretty solid, her movement's pretty solid, her ult's pretty solid. Everything's just mid, and I feel like there's so many good DPS. There's so many good DPS and so high damage. There's so many good. There's actually just so many good like damage healers right now. There's so many good healers in the game. I feel like if you're gonna play Storm, it's like why not play Luna Snow? You know, it's like if you're gonna play Storm, I think you should play Luna Snow. And for that reason, Storm's in C tier. But she's borderline a lot with the Hulk. She's borderline B tier, and it's kind of up to you. But for that reason, Storm is C tier. I guess Penny Parker is also kind of borderline, but the other one's not really. Okay. Let me make sure I finished out C tier before we move on this time. Okay. Okay, we have her, we have her. We have him, her. Okay, I think that's everybody. Alright, next up we have B tier. And then B tier we have the good characters, but there's still a lot of better options. And first up in B tier we have Black Panther. And I feel like Black Panther is really high skill ceiling, a lot like I said with Spider-Man. And if you can master his combos, he's one of the best characters in the game. He plays kind of like off tanky because he's 300 HP, plays a bit more like an off tank role player, and he has good movement, especially if you can pair it with his wall jumps and his double jumps. If you get wall movement and wall climb, and he has some, and his ult's kind of mid, and I feel like his skill ceiling is so high. For those reasons, he's B tier. But I feel like he is one of the best DPS and tank busters in this game. So for that reason, he's B tier. Okay, no. I'm gonna say next up in B tier, we have Iron Man. I feel like Iron Man is kind of a hard. He's kind of like he's kind of like an easy character to like use, but he's hard to learn. If that makes sense. He has such a high skill ceiling, and that might if to be really good with him, but to be mid with him, it's pretty easy. And for that reason, he's B tier. I feel like his base damage is pretty weak, and his overall movement's pretty mid. But I feel like all of it's good, but not insane. But I feel like his ult is really great, and for that reason, I'm gonna say he is B tier. And I do feel like there are better options at DPS, and for that reason, Iron Man. Well, actually, hold on. Do I want to put Iron Man in here? Actually, we're gonna put a pause on Iron Man, if that makes sense. Okay, so in B tier we have Black Panther so far. And then, hold on. Okay, but 100% in B tier we have Psylocke. I feel like Psylocke is really good, one of the best DPS in this game, but she's 5-star difficulty. She's up there with Spider-Man as one of the hardest characters to play in this game. Her movement's really good, her damage is really good. But I feel like you have to get so good with her to be insane, and to master her ult, which is kind of mid. For that reason, she's B tier. Okay. Okay. Next up in B tier, we have Thor. I feel like Thor is pretty like easy to learn, but his damage is pretty nice. He's a good tank buster, tank beat tank action. His movement's pretty decent. His damage is pretty solid. Everything's about pretty solid. But I feel like his ult is really easy to dodge and is not that great. And he kind of feels like I mentioned before with Hulk, he feels like a bad version um of Venom. But I feel like he plays a little more off tanky, and for that reason, Thor is B tier because he's kind of different than Hulk. For that reason, he's B tier. And yeah, Thor is. Actually, you know what? We're gonna say everything's the same, but since we're putting Thor in B tier, we're gonna bring Hulk up to C tier. Hulk and Thor are both in B tier if you can go with them. Okay. I know this is confusing. We're gonna let it ride. But the reason also, I feel like some of y'all in the comments might say, Spider-Man, why are you putting him in D tier? Because he sucks. I can't believe the amount of times I've had him in a rank match where I've got Spider-Man as one of my DPS and he just chokes the game. Like, gosh damn. Gosh damn. Okay. Okay. Are we in B tier? Yeah. Okay, I've decided Hulk and Thor are both in B tier. And then I think Iron Man, I think that's that's it for B tier. We're gonna start off in A tier, and first up in A tier we have Iron Man. And I feel like the reason Iron Man's in A tier is because I feel like his movement's pretty good, his damage pretty good, but I feel like his ult, if you can get good with his ult is so OP. I've seen it kill entire teams and win and clutch out dubs. And I feel like for that reason he's A tier. But his damage is too weak to put him any higher. But he's definitely an A tier DPS right now. And then next up in A tier, we have Venom, who is probably my second most played character in this game. And Venom is, and that's saying a lot because a lot of hours. He's the easiest character to use in my opinion in this game. His shield is really good. His movement's one of the best. He does really great stuff with his movement, and he has really good HP, really good, especially with the shield. But I feel like he doesn't do enough as a tank to protect his other teammates, and for that reason, he is A tier. But I feel like the main reason he's A tier and not S tier is because his ultimate ability, I don't know if y'all know this, it literally makes it to where you can't get a kill. What it does is whatever your current health is at, it makes you lose 50%. And for that reason, he is and for that reason Venom in his ult it only gives you whatever your current health is like minus 50% or times 50%. And what I mean is if their health is like 400, it goes down to 200, which is really good, but you can't get a kill. And for that reason, Venom is only A tier. And next up in A tier, we have Punisher, one of the most annoying characters to go up against in this game because of his turret. But I feel like if you have a Groot, which a lot of people run, you can easily stop his turret, and for that reason, he's A tier. I feel like he has one of the most powerful ults in this game. I feel like he has a lot of good options with smoke grenades, like grapple, like not grapple, but like stun. I think he has stun, or maybe it's grapple. I don't know. Grapple, smoke grenade, AR, shotgun, like the double minigun ult. He's a very good character, but I feel like there's still a one tier above him at DPS, and I feel like for that reason he is only A tier, but he's still one of the best, and he's probably he might be the easiest character to use in this game. And then next up in A tier, we have Magneto. I feel like Magneto's A tier because his shield's really good, his damage is pretty solid, his orb can be really useful, and I feel like for that reason Magneto, and I feel like his ult's pretty okay, but I feel like he's a bad version of Doctor Strange, but I feel like he's still a really useful member of the team, and for that reason he is A tier. You can drop him in B tier maybe, but I feel like if you pair him with Doctor Strange, that combo goes crazy, and for that reason he is. Hold on, let me see what his ult does. Actually, no, his ult can be pretty good. His ult kind of looks like a better version of the Thor ult, and for that reason, Magneto will be an A tier character. And all this is subject to change with updates throughout the seasons, but this is for season 0. And then next up, in A tier, we have, hold on. Did that row. We have Moon Knight. And Moon Knight has some good abilities. He does really good damage. He has totems with some movement. He has some really good skill. He has some really good skill. He has really good high skill ceiling. But he's a really good character. And his ult is one of the best in this game. But I feel like there's still a little better DPS than him. And for that reason, he's only A tier. But he's one of the best DPS in the game. And then next up, we have none other than Mantis. And Mantis is a 1-star difficulty. She's a really good healer. Her ult's really strong. But I feel like they're still a little bit better than her. And I feel like she feels like a bad version of Luna Snow. And for that, and she doesn't need a buff, but Luna Snow is one of the best healers in this game. So Mantis being a bad version of Luna Snow, she's still really good. So that reason she's an A tier healer. A tier in this game. And then okay, this is A tier. Okay, next up in A tier, we have Cloak and Dagger. I feel like Cloak and Dagger is a really good combo between healing and damage. They have pretty solid ult, but I feel like they're still a little better than them. But I feel like they're still a really good combo, and for that reason they're A tier. And they're pretty. And if you could go with them, they're really good, but they're still A tier. Okay. Okay. Next up in A tier, we have Hawkeye. I like Hawkeye. He's really hard to learn. But if you can get with his bow, you can be really good. His ult is pretty good too. And I feel like that reason is A tier, but I feel like his ult's a little too underwhelming to put him in S tier. For that reason, Hawkeye is A tier. I feel like next up in A tier we have Iron Fist. I feel like Iron Fist is one of the best DPS in this game. Healers hate him, tanks hate him, DPS hate him. He's a really good tank buster, really good hitting healers in the back line, really good DPS v DPS. But I feel like his ult's pretty good. But I feel like his ult's just like I feel like his ult. I feel like his ability. He's kind of like the opposite of. I don't know. His abilities are really good. I feel like he's kind of the opposite of how Iron Man got an A tier. Because Iron Man, his abilities are kind of like B tier, but then his ult's S tier, which bounces him at A tier. I feel like Iron Fist, his abilities are S tier, but his ult's B tier, and that reason he's A tier. If that makes sense. And for that reason, Iron Fist and his movement's really good. But I feel like you need them have good timed ultimates in this game, and I feel like Iron Fist's ult's just kind of not there, and overall he doesn't really take over. But he's really good, and for that reason he's. And if you don't have a healer with you, you're pretty much dead. But I feel like there's still a little bit better at DPS, and for that reason he's only A tier. They're gonna be S 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 tier. Well, spoilers. They're gonna be S tier. They're gonna be S tier. Okay, now we have none other than our S tier characters. And first up in S tier, we have none other than who's the bottom of the barrel here in S tier. I'm gonna say none other than Luna Snow. Her heals are pretty good, but her ult. The thing that put her in S tier for me is her ult is so insane. Pretty much unless you double counter ult it, you're pretty much not gonna be really able to stop her. And it's pretty easily counter ulted, but I feel like it makes you burn ult. It's really good as a counter ult. Luna Snow, it's still one of the best ults in the game. It does a lot of good stuff. And if you counter ult their counter ult, then it can be a crazy combo. And for that reason, Luna Snow, and her heals are really good, pretty much unkillable if you're in her ult. And for that reason, especially for lower tier lobbies, since her ult is kind of easily countered, it's not even. It's not the only thing that really counter ults it is Doctor Strange. But I feel like, I'm gonna keep her in S tier, but I feel like she's bottom of S, but because I feel like the only thing that really stops her is Doctor Strange, but he's one of the best characters in this game. So I don't know. I'm gonna say she's S tier. And the reason she's S tier is her ult. As long as you're pretty much in this big sphere, you're pretty much unkillable, and all your teammates are too. And for that reason, she is easily S tier. Okay, finish that row. Next up in S tier, we have none other than we have none other than we have none other than we have none. We're gonna say next up in S tier, we have Okay, we're gonna say next up in S tier has got to be none other than Scarlet Witch. And I like Scarlet Witch, one of the easiest characters to learn in this game, really high damage. Her ult's insane, it's an absolute nuke. But I feel like there is some better characters for base abilities, and for that reason she's only like the 6th character best in the game, but she's S tier. And then next up in S tier, we have a lot like Scarlet Witch. We have possibly the best DPS in this game, Hela. Her abilities are really good. Her movement's really good with the bird. Her ult's really good if you can master it. And I feel like if you can get really good with her, she's better than Scarlet Witch. And for that reason, she's 5th character in this game, 5th best character in this game, S tier. Actually, no. She's 4th best character in this game, S tier. 5th best character in this game is Adam Warlock, because I feel like his heal is really good, his damage is really good, his ult of reviving is really powerful. But I feel like Hela is a little more impactful as a DPS. But I feel like Hela is the best DPS in this game, and I feel like Adam Warlock is the 2nd best healer. And for that reason, it's like that. Then 3rd best character in this game, in my opinion, is none other than Garut. And Garut, if you can get good with I'm gonna say 3rd best character in this game is Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, his force is really good, his portal is really good, his ult of Eye Magneto is really empowered, is really Emoji Jojo is really good. But I feel like there's still a few better than Doctor Strange, and for that reason, but I feel like he's still really good in this game, and for that reason he's S tier. And next up in S tier we have Garut, and Garut is really good, really high damage. His walls are really good. Garut's my man. He built big damage on the grenade. Walls are nice. You can do the best pair in the game with pairing him with Jeff. I think it's the best healer in the game, and that way Garut's the 2nd best character. I like the best character in this game is Jeff, because it's not even unironically the best. He can heal. He can do big damage. He can ult, eat the entire team, eat your team, spit him out, do heals. He's very good. He can stack with Garut, which makes him the best combo in the game. I feel like Jeff and Garut, 2 best characters. And we're going to wrap this video up, and they're both S tier. So we have Winter Soldier. Okay, and actually, no, look down in the comments for the whole team for the summary of the tier list. And we have none other. And you might say, what should I be running if I'm running a 6 squad? If I'm running a 6-man, if you're running a 6-man, I would say you should run Jeff the Landshark. I would say the best thing is 2 healers, 2 DPS, 2 tanks. I would say you run Jeff the Landshark. I would say you run Adam Warlock. Then I would say you either run Jeff the Landshark and Adam Warlock, or Jeff the Landshark and Lewis Snow. And I would say you run Hela and Scarlet Witch as your 2 DPS. And then I would say you run, maybe you throw Iron Fist in there, but then I would say you run Garut and Doctor Strange as your 2 tanks. So I would say Jeff, Adam Warlock, Garut, Doctor Strange, Hela, Scarlet Witch. That's your squad. I'll see you all next one. Because you can't do it, especially if you hit headshots with Hela or Scarlet Witch. That's really good combos. And I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what I missed. Peace.